Diamond chains and rings, all a brother knows now. Girl, one of the first to know that gold is back in town, so you gotta serve this royalty.
So let me, for the sake of, it's apparent that they've done their homework on these, Maggie. So what I would suggest, if there's any, because there's 20 more topics that they can go through and do line item by line item discussion. So
too much, right?
Well, yeah. So if there's something that specifically we can narrow it in, I think that would probably be beneficial.
And the NAC is,
everyone.
Chair, the NAC still chiming in and developing their list. So this is not, this is fluid right now. So I would like to call the question personally, so we can move forward and vote. I think this is a project that is needed in the city. I know there's opposition to it. However, the jobs it brings, the education, the affordable housing it brings, I support it. So I'd like to move forward and request that we vote on it so we can have public hearings, more dialogue with the NAC, with council members, with the community. So I'd like to move this forward.
Okay, duly noted. I just want to, because we haven't given the opportunity to other board members, are there any questions from?
Can we limit board member questions then?
Yes,
the number
of course, yes.
Great.
Board member George. You have any questions, sir?
Okay. I'm good, thank you.
Board member DeWeke, do you have any questions, sir?
Yeah, several, but just want to highlight one of the buckets that we're apparently not going to get to, and it got kind of cut off when this was printed. One of the buckets that I know is a kind of a hot button issue with the public is a contribution to the Detroit Public Library. And I can't remember exactly what the amount was that was part of the developer contribution for the Detroit Public Library. But I want to say that it was $215,000 or something like that.
I think it was $250,000, and what we heard from the ACT respectively was that wasn't a priority that they had highlighted. So it was our expectation that they would come back to us and tell us that that's not something they want to do.
Okay, well, that's on them, I guess. But that's certainly an issue that's come up in a lot of the public comments that I've heard and that have been directed toward me. So,
duly noted. Okay.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Pamela, questions?
No questions.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Certainly. Board Member DeSantis.
No.
Board Member Dueweke.
no.
Board Member Elias.
Yes.
Board Member George.
Yes.
Board Member McClain.
Yes.
Board Member Washington.
Yes.
And Board Chair Scott.
Yes.
The resolution passes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that we didn't have room who made the motion to approve again? And who seconded?
George.
Sure. And was there room for discussion after the motion and the second?
No, we did not do discussion.
Okay. Pam, I'm sorry. This is hugely important.
No, I don't have a problem.
So no, we appreciate and respect it, lady. So we're grateful for that. And there will be other opportunities because as everyone knows, this doesn't stop here, but it goes to council. Then after council is going to go to the state. So there's 2 more boards that needs to approve this in order for it to move forward. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of discussion going in. So,
yeah, I would like to offer up my own comments about why I'm voting no. And I expected to do that in the discussion phase.
We will certainly give you the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm voting no on principle because I think it is bad public policy to offer up this much public incentive which is not, it doesn't just come in the form of the various reimbursements and abatements. It also comes in the form of more public dollars being used as part of the NAC set of, I'll just say concessions, right? When we have neighborhoods in Detroit that are as marginalized and as disinvested and as desperately needy as we have, in my mind, it's terrible public policy to offer this much subsidy in the district Detroit neighborhood in particular, which is already experiencing massive development and which is vulnerable right now and is experiencing gentrification. I think it's the wrong use of tax dollars. So I do have to agree with the many comments that are coming up. I also am concerned about what feels like a rush, exemplified just by the fact that my colleague board members didn't want to take any more time to hear all this detail. That's just an example that we seem to be rushing forward. We got two different explanations for why we had to take this vote now. The first one was something about the $100 million from the state having to spend it, which suggests, I think it's the $100 million for the University of Michigan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pardon me?
She's.
All right, and if that's the case, to have the project being pushed along on the back of that particular contribution and not have U of M in any way held accountable for its piece of it, either in the community benefits agreement or in this brownfield plan, is a disconnect. It makes no sense. Then we heard from the city that the reason we had to vote now is because of construction season, which frankly to me is laughable because we've been through, I think, a decade of construction seasons where the District Detroit plan was supposed to move forward, and I guess it was okay to let those 10 pass. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, construction seasons do tend to happen every year, and more they are year round. So that doesn't make sense to me either. So my other concern is why we have to vote now versus taking the time. This is a massive, first time, record-breaking piece of subsidy for a development. And I do think Detroit citizens and anyone else who's interested deserves to be part of a more detailed public discussion. We'll leave it at that. I want to encourage everyone here. You may be looking for nighttime reading. I'd like you to go to www.buildingtheengine.com and take a look at two documents. Just take a read. Those deal with principles and practices of equitable community development, which this is not. So that you can understand why my vote is a principled vote based on my belief that Detroit is not currently practicing equitable development and needs to. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of establishing certain policies that are even non-monetary policies. And so I encourage everybody on Zoom, in the audience, the developers, everybody, take a read for two documents in there. Roadmap to Equity is one of them, and Equity-Focused Community Development in Detroit is another one. So I bear no animus to the developers. I've done real estate development. I understand the value of subsidy, but the real estate development I've done requested subsidy in neighborhoods that have been terribly disinvested, created jobs for local residents, and made more sense in terms of the need for subsidies. So I just want to make sure that everybody hears that. I don't often vote no. I sometimes abstain, but it's important to me that everybody here understand why I'm voting no.
Thank you, Maggie. Julie noted.
Chair?
Yeah.
Could I be allowed also to make a statement to explain why I voted no on this? That be acceptable?
Yes, sir. Can we hold it to 2 minutes?
Hold it to 2 minutes. Okay.
Sorry, Eric.
I'll try to hold it to 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
The reason, there's really two reasons that I voted no on this. One, actually both allude to some of the things that Maggie mentioned about the speed with which this is moving forward, but more importantly, about the role of the University of Michigan in this. One of the reasons I asked earlier that this presentation from last time be included in our minutes is that there's a misstatement in here that was presented to us that states the University of Michigan is going to make an annual investment of $50 to $60 million. I've since found out from university people that that's simply not true, that the annual investment is $10 million and their contribution to the build is $50 million. So if that is an erroneous assertion in here, I think there ought to be kind of more time to vet some of the other details in here. Also, I've learned that the University of Michigan's $50 million, I'd love to be wrong about this, is coming because they are abandoning their commitment to renovate the Rackham building in the Cultural Center in Midtown and basically, taking their money and moving it downtown. That $50 million. That's really, when Sue Mosey finds this out, certainly she's not going to be happy. And so that kind of also speaks to a market question that nobody has delved into, which is, so the cannibalizing Rackham to go downtown. I feel like no case has been made that there's a market for all of these extra square feet, thousands of square feet of office space that are probably, in my mind, going to cannibalize our legacy downtown buildings, the Penobscot, the Book, and whatever. Where are all these new offices going to come from, to the one public commenter's comment? And in terms of the speed in which this is happening, with all due respect, Mr. Polson and others, council is not eager to take this up. And I'm going to be very surprised if they ram this through before budget. They're just not going to want to do it. So there is time. And I've seen nothing on paper that documents the deadline from the state of Michigan for U of M, but of course, U of M isn't at the table to give us details. So that's the reason I voted no. I actually might be okay with it postponing it, and I might have voted yes if I had some more information. But I guess the train is moving. So that's the reason I voted no, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dueweke. All right. Administrative.
No administrative items, Mr. Chair, at this time.
Okay. Other? All right, we've moved public comment to the front of this, so motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
You don't have to say.
Platinum chains and rings, all that brother knows now. Girl, one of the first to know that gold is back in town, so you gotta serve this royalty.